What I've just given is the first and in some ways most important argument of the book, that it takes up most of chapter 1, so you should read and review and make sure you understand that. But at the end of chapter 1, we get information about moving on. Locke was an organized thinker and writer, and at the end of the first chapter, he looks ahead and lays out the divisions in his argument for the 2 chapters that are to come. So if you read over that last paragraph of chapter 1, that will set you up to understand the rest of today's readings. What we need is to make a distinction, as he says, a precise boundary line. That we need to set a marker that divides one thing from another. This is his strategy for promoting toleration. He wants to give certain responsibilities to government that are as much as possible clearly distinguished from those that belong to religion, and duties to religion that are as much as possible clearly distinguished from those that belong to the government. And that depends on setting the boundary that makes the marker between one area of responsibility and the other. Locke's way of arguing this is not to appeal to secular people, people who care about this world and this life most of all, and care less about religion. Nor is it to appeal to religious people, people who have their eyes and their minds on higher things and think mostly about eternity in the next life, and that much less about this world. He wants to make one argument that persuades both those types of people, people who have opposite priorities. So this is something to be kept in mind. Every conclusion must work for 2 different audiences. And that often means that there are 2 separate sorts of arguments toward the same thing. So what do we have to do? In order to enforce toleration, we have to make a sharp distinction so that people know what authority goes to what sort of organization, either to the secular government, the people who are in charge of the affairs of this life, or the religious government, the people who are in charge of the next life, either to the people who care for our bodies on this earth, or the people who care for our souls in wherever our lives take us for the next phase of our existence, the eternal one. So we must distinguish civil government, which has its responsibility for the body and temporal, worldly, present affairs, and religion, which cares for souls as they will be in eternity. And the point is to avoid the endless controversies. This is always driving these arguments and still dominates our modern minds in the 21st century. And that when people start arguing about religion, they can never end with agreement. And those endless controversies lead to terrible problems. It's bad enough that we fight and we have wars over material things, gold or water rights, or other tangible parts of this life. But we do even worse. We kill each other over things that we can't see and ultimately can't know. Whether the bread used in the sacred feast of Christianity called communion, whether it really is Jesus Christ, or whether it merely represents Jesus Christ metaphorically. And that can be a matter of much violence and life and death. And Locke is trying to move the world away from those endless and dangerous problems. And the need to do this was felt all over Europe after centuries of religious wars. And it's the thing that still gives power to his arguments today, even in this part of the world. And so this this concern is the one that makes the difference. I think the difference is as sharp as the difference between the soul and the body. And it is religion that cares for souls. And it has no interest, no special concern, and no special authority over things that merely matter to the body. Then the soul is its special responsibility. And on the other hand, the government is concerned with the commonwealth and precisely with the things of the body. Are we safe? Are we healthy? Are we fed? Are we kept warm? All those things that are beneath religion are precisely what governments need to worry about. It's their special responsibility. And religious authority is not allowed to interfere with them in their limited responsibilities. And so you should read carefully chapters 2 and chapter 3, where he lays out and expands on these arguments. But the basic thing to get straight is laid out at the end of chapter 1. Only if we have a sharp distinction that gives duties and authority and responsibility to each party, then makes those things different. Only if we can sort those things out and distinguish them sharply can we have an end to the controversies that come up when religion and government mix. And that is what the human race needs in order to move forward and live more peacefully